Welcome, students, to today's lesson. We're going to continue learning about the main idea of a text, and we're going to add this important detail of the supporting details. Every main idea comes with supporting details. So your goal today is I can decide which ideas are the main idea or details and explain why. Your steps that you'll take are you're going to decide what's the most general or the biggest idea on your list. That's going to be the main idea. Then you're going to check the other ideas and make sure that they actually support the main idea. Then you're going to tell how the details actually do that. How do they support the main idea? And you're going to use complete sentences. And then you'll be taking a screenshot of your work that you make and sharing it with your teacher. So let's talk about these two concepts, the main idea and the supporting details. The main idea of a text is a big one. It's general, it's broad, it's not very specific. A supporting detail is specific. It's like a little example, a little thing that gives you a little bit more information or flavor. Okay? The main idea is the most important part of the text. If you don't know the main idea, then the text does not make sense. If you don't write the main idea down for your readers, they probably are not going to understand the text. Supporting details, they can give examples or extra information, and they're not as important as the main idea. If you leave one out, the main idea still makes sense. The text will still make sense. Okay? Let's take a look here at a text, and I want you to see if you can figure out what the main idea is. Remember that the main idea is what is the topic plus what the author is saying about the topic. Can you figure out the topic and what the author is basically saying? So listen as I read aloud. In ancient times, people thought the moon was a powerful god or goddess. The Romans called their moon goddess Diana. In Greece, the moon goddess was Artemis, who rode through the sky in a silver chariot. Stories and legends were told about the shapes and shadows that show on the moon's surface. Some people said the moon showed a man's face, the man in the moon, who was imprisoned there for stealing. Others told of moon demons living there. Okay, so we're going to take these two. I've got some details on the next page, but can you figure out what the main idea is between those two pages? Basically, what is the topic and what is the author saying about it? Well, if you're not sure, then here's a list of ideas that I found on that page. I want you to see if you can figure out which one of these is the big idea. What's the one that none of the other ones really kind of work with unless I know that's the main idea what I'm talking about. So here's my ideas. In Rome, people said the moon was a goddess named Diana. In Greece, they said the moon's name was Artemis, who rode a silver chariot. Long ago, in ancient times, people made up many stories about the moon. Some people said that the moon looked like a face, and the face was actually a man who was trapped inside the moon as punishment for stealing. And some people said there were demons in the moon. Which of those is the biggest idea? Which is the one that kind of covers all the rest? Makes all the rest make a little bit more sense. So if we said the first one, this is the first one that shows up on my list. In Rome, people said the moon was a goddess named Diana. Okay, my second step is to check if the other ideas support that idea. Does that means they give me more information about the moon being a goddess named Diana? If that's right, and they all give me more information about that, then it's probably the main idea. If they don't give me more information or detail about the moon being a goddess named Diana, that's probably not the main idea. So let's look at the next one. In Greece, they said the moon's name was Artemis, who rode a silver chariot across the sky. Does that give me any more information about the moon being a goddess named Diana? No, it's actually like a completely different thing. It says her name is different and she does a different thing. It even says a different place, right? And so this first one's in Rome and that one's in Greece. Long ago in ancient times, people made up many stories about the moon. Okay, but that doesn't give me more information about the moon being a goddess named Diana. Okay, so I'm thinking this is not a big enough idea. Have you spotted my mistake? Have you found the big idea of the whole text? I think it might be this one. Long ago in ancient times, people made up many stories about the moon. Let's check and see if we can find examples of stories that people made up about the moon in my details. In Rome, people said the moon was a goddess named Diana. That sounds like a little story about the moon. Yeah, and it was long ago. In Greece, they said the moon's name was Artemis, who rode a silver chariot. Yeah, that's a story about the moon. Some people said that the moon looked like a face. That's a story about the moon. Some people said there were demons in the moon. Oh, yeah, that's a story about the moon. Okay, so I decided, I thought this was my main idea. And then when I checked if they supported that idea, I found out I was right. Those other ideas actually do tell me more information about that. So your last job when picking the main idea and key details is to explain why the details support the idea. So here's my explanation that I wrote. The main idea of these passages, or these pages, is that a long time ago, people told different stories about the moon. So that's my main idea. The details give specific examples of the kinds of stories that people actually told, like stories about gods or explanations for why the surface of the moon kind of looks like a face. So notice how I retold the main idea, and then I told what the details are doing. They're giving examples of the kinds of stories. And to make my work a little bit richer, I even kind of generalized a couple of things that those stories did. They told stories about God or explained the surface of the moon. So this would be an example of a very good explanation of a main idea and key details. Notice how I wrote how they supported it, and I use complete sentences. That means capital letters and periods at the end. Okay. I did one. Now it's going to be your turn. I'm going to give you a text, and I want you to try to decide which of my ideas on the next page is the main idea, and which ones are the supporting details. Then I'm going to ask you to pause and try to write your own explanation of how the main idea is supported by the details. So let's start. What's the main idea, and what is the author saying about the topic? There's going to be two pictures of pages here. Listen as I read. As the moon orbits the Earth, it passes between the sun and Earth as a new moon. Sometimes the moon lines up just right and casts a shadow on Earth. This is called a solar eclipse. The moon's shadow falls on Earth. A solar eclipse can last up to 7½ minutes. Lunar eclipse. When the sun, Earth, and moon are exactly lined up, a lunar eclipse happens. As in a solar eclipse, the moon's orbit is not tilted. Earth blocks off the sunlight that usually lights up the moon. The moon has a reddish glow. So here are some ideas that I pulled out of that text for you. Your job is to decide what's the most general or the biggest idea. What's the one that seems to kind of cover all of the others or like take them under it? And then you need to check if the other ideas actually support that idea. So here's the list. If you don't want me to read it to you, pause here and get started thinking. During a solar eclipse, the sun casts a shadow of the moon onto the Earth. You can't see the sun if you're under the shadow of the moon during a lunar solar eclipse. During a lunar eclipse, the sun casts a shadow of the Earth onto the moon. You can't see the moon very well during a lunar eclipse, but it has a reddish glow. During an eclipse, the sun casts a shadow onto another object in space, and it becomes hard to see something because of the shadow. Which of those is the biggest idea? Describe how the details support the main idea in complete sentences. So take a look here. How do these details support that idea? Do they support that idea? If they don't all have something to do with it, then go back and see if you can find the idea that's really the main idea. I want you to write a description here. The main idea is that, and the details tell us that. Pause the video and see if you can. Here's my idea. The main idea is that there are different kinds of eclipse, which is where the sun casts a shadow onto something in space. The details give us examples of the kinds of eclipse, lunar and solar eclipses, and tell us a little about what they're like. So I went back and I noticed that there are two different kinds of eclipses, and the details are giving me information about those kinds of eclipse. All right. I hope that was straightforward for you and easy. If it wasn't, that's okay. Here's another chance to practice your skills. All right. It's going to be a little bit more fun because it's on Seesaw and you got to drag things around and make things a little bit different colors and more fun. So your job will be to decide what the most general, the biggest idea is, to make sure that the details support the main idea, to tell how the details support the main idea in complete sentences, and to take a screenshot of your work and share it with your teacher. So here is your exit ticket for today. It's on Seesaw, but you're going to use it to take a screenshot and show me or show your teacher. There's an example slide for what you need to do, which is to find the main idea and the key details and sort them into their different spots, and then give an explanation. And the checklist of things to do is right down here, okay? Your job is on this third slide. You're going to be reading about the different details and main idea here that have to do with the phases of the moon. This example was about satellites. This is about phases of the moon. So you need to decide which of these is the main idea and put it under main idea, and which one are the supporting details and put it under supporting details. And then you need to write an explanation right here. Your last step is to take a screenshot and get it to me or to your teacher.